I've just been kind of the behind the scenes person that just got stuff done. That's kind of what I've been doing for the past 3 decades. It's always been fascinating for me, the whole car culture, the movement. I think that it really didn't come into play until I was probably around 9 years old when I immigrated here from Iraq in '79. I got kind of put into, at that time it was like a heavy lowrider culture, and that was really fascinating. I was actually doing the artwork for some of the lowrider clubs around the city, so I was involved in that. But ever since then, growing up, it was like I had to have something related to cars. Okay, so this is the shop here. We have many race cars inside, going through different stages of restoration. Here we have the Paul Newman '86 championship racing car. It actually did some track time, had a hydraulic bearing failure, so it's going through new prep. This one is the '85 Paul Newman 300Z, another championship car. This will end up getting a full restoration. Moving down to Southern California, where it's kind of the car culture mecca, the hot rod mecca, you kind of morph into getting what is available out there for you as a livelihood. And the hot rods, made a business of that. And then now it's morphed into more racing, doing a lot of vintage racing stuff, restoring a lot of iconic, historic racing vehicles. That were racing back in the '70s, '80s, '90s in the IMSA series. Along this side here, we're going to be doing a clone of the Apple computer Porsche 935. We will do all the body panels and duplicate it. We actually have the real Apple computer car in the museum, which is actually the Hawaiian Tropic car. We're going to do a clone of it and in the Apple computer livery. That way it's a much cheaper thing to take out on the track, and if you spin it out or whatever, it's not, the end of the world. Here we have a BRE Datsun 510. It's actually a pretty iconic car. I think in the Datsun world, if you ask all the Datsun guys and they see this car, their jaws would drop, because this is kind of one of those iconic Datsuns in the industry. BRE built 4 of these. This is one of them. Nissan Museum has the other one. One was destroyed. The third one is actually inside. We're doing a complete restoration on that too. Came here at Corolla Racing about 6 years ago. I think Adam kind of liked my work ethic and the speed at what I was accomplishing. And he approached me and asked me if I wanted to stay here, full time. The skills were actually all self-taught. I didn't mind breaking something and trying to fix it. I didn't mind picking up a new talent, a new trait, whether it's, welding, sheet metal work, metal forming. I never really, was one of those guys where like, oh no, I can't do that, I'm not capable. I dove in and you make the mistakes. That's how you learn. And then this is the kind of the shop portion of the shop, or the equipment portion of the shop. We don't have all the latest, greatest, 3D printers or CNC mills or anything like that, but we're doing vintage race cars, so a lot of it is back from the '70s, '80s, and '90s, which didn't have any of the new technology. This is what I use to get the job done here. This Dual came out of the Douglas Aircraft Company. Pretty iconic airplane company. Built in 1945. It's one of my pride and joys. I love this machine. I wouldn't trade it for anything new. I think one of the biggest investments you can make is a Bridgeport mill. It took 10 years before I even got one after I started my shop, and I could not fathom what was I doing in the 10 years? How was I able to accomplish stuff? But for me, the Bridgeport, you cannot go wrong with a Bridgeport. You can make mistakes on it. It's not the end of the world. It's not gonna break down, on you. It's a tried and true machine. You can do pretty much anything, your imagination, even with a lathe. A lathe also is like one of those tools to have. And a forklift, because you gotta have a forklift to move these around. So as far as the Baileigh machine goes, the magnetic brake is what I have. That's been kind of the best tool for me in my arsenal, because I can make anything, dash panels, fender parts, air intakes, heat shields, you name it. I mean, the thing can make it. It's basically, what's your imagination? This little oil sump can that belongs on one of the BRE cars that we are restoring, all hand formed and all bent up on the Baileigh magnetic brake, welded together. And this is basically what I was able to duplicate from one that is available on that car over there. So I was lucky enough to have an actual one to model off of. Here I'm making a oil sump tank for one of the race cars, and it utilizes radius corners. So what I like to do is I like to just scribe my lines and make multiple hits on the machine. This machine lets you do that really easily. So what I'll do is I'll make several parts. This will be one section, there'll be another section, and it'll be a male piece that kind of interties into these, and everything gets welded together and it gives you a nice radius corner. We'll make the first hit on this, and I just go by eye and feel. I've done this a few times, so I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to take to make the radius. So I go to my second line, and I'm going to hit that. Machine clamps it down really nicely, and I can kind of keep an eye on it. The last hit, and do that again. And that should put me right in the ballpark of what I am looking for. And there you have it, a nice radius. And then you just, you make, like I have males and females, weld it all together, and before you know it, you have an end product and something that is bespoke to the car. And this machine makes the job that much easier. I also have a Baileigh fixture table. You have to have one. Matter of fact, Shane, I need 2 more. But you can never go wrong with a fixture table. One that is as solid as a platform as this is. You can pretty much build anything on it, tie them together, build chassis or whatever. They are just built so solid that they will hold, even if you're doing really heavy wall material on it. It's gonna hold that stuff down. Baileigh fixture table is an asset in any shop. Baileigh has a really good presence in social media. They're always posting daily different hot rod fabricators, different fabricators, metal shapers, woodworkers. It's not just all about metal. They're in many different factors of industry. Shane is Shane. He's a great guy. I think he's just a go-getter. He just makes sure that things are going to happen. If you look at it, anytime he tags somebody, you can almost guarantee that person's going to blow up on social media. This engine, it's a Chevrolet 454 big block. It's got an Arizona Speed Marine induction system on it, turbocharged, Turbonetics turbo. All the plumbing that you see, the exhaust manifolds, all that, that's all handmade, all that. This is actually going to be the platform for the big C70 Suburban that I'm building. So you got to have a little bit of power to move a big truck like that. Here we have the collection. This is the kind of the museum part of it. This is the second BRE car under restoration. I just actually cleared it 2 days ago. That is going through the whole nut and bolt restoration of it, and that's a pretty iconic car. This is actually the long lost, as Pete Brock would put it, the Jamaica car. It went down to Jamaica, raced for about 3 decades, was found, brought back to the States, and Adam picked it up, and now we're doing the full restoration on it. So it's coming along really nicely. I'm really falling in love with the car and the colors. I'm not a big yellow fan, but it really goes with all the different colors that are on the car. The 610, we have also a Roadster. This is a BRE. They had pretty much 6 cars, 2 Roadsters and 4 510s. This is actually Paul Newman's first championship car, Triumph. It used to be the Bob Tullius car, and it was all white with a green stripe. We took it down, and I gave it the original style livery on it, and basically just went off of pictures. This was basically the only one of 2 pictures I had to go off of to basically try and duplicate what I think would have been the car. Everything is hand laid, hand striped. All the letters are all hand painted. So I'm not a painter, but I think I did a pretty good job on that one. Another one of my favorites is this camel pace car. It never saw any racing action, but it was like a pace car built back in the day. It just has a really cool paint scheme to it, and the paint scheme just like puts it over the top. One of my favorites here. This one here is a Cosworth he just picked up, another Paul Newman car. Then we have two more Paul Newman cars here, a couple of Oldsmobiles. This one he bought, I think, last year. Little 510, really nice car, nicely built. And then that one there is a kind of a monster that really didn't have much success because it was just, in a way, over-engineered. They were trying out a lot of new things back then, so it wasn't a very successful car. It kept on breaking parts. This one here is 87 Paul Newman 300Z. It's actually the 2+2 as they call it. There's a sister car in the other shop. There was an 87 and 88 car. My favorite actually in the collection is this Z here. This 94Z, I used to watch these cars at Laguna Seca and Sears Point back in the 90s when I was young. They made an impression on my life. I mean, when you saw these things dominate, like you wanted to drive one. And I may get a chance, you know, in my lifetime to actually drive one. But yeah, this is actually one of my favorites. It's a full-on tube chassis car, no expense spared back in the day. This would probably cost over $1 million to build today. They only built two of them that were the V8 car. They didn't do too well because they came later, and then they banned the class as far as turbos go and stuff like that. So they didn't really see too much action and too much glory. And then we have a 74 Porsche 911. This one here was a Sebring car for Paul Newman, and it actually was turned into a kind of an RSR, so it had a different wing on the back. And so basically Adam came to me and asked me if I could kind of duplicate that from this picture. I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And that's pretty much all that we kind of had. And so I went ahead and turned it back to this style from 1974. So we're gonna run this at Laguna Seca in a couple of weeks and see what it can do. See if that wing even works. I don't know. And then, of course, the top dog in this collection is the 79 935 Le Mans car. This was actually, it won its class and second overall in Le Mans in 79. This car actually is the Apple car, the Apple computer car that we're doing a clone of, but this is the real Apple computer car. In 79, it was the Hawaiian Tropic livery. In 1980, it became the Apple computer livery car. And I do believe, I'm almost positive it's the only time Apple Computers ever sponsored a car or a race car. But yeah, this one here is it's a really nice car. It's an animal to drive. It's got a lot of power. When that boost kicks in, it's like, hang on. So it's got pretty good, and it's a lightweight car. So, you know, it's got, you know, almost 700 horsepower that's pushing a 2,500 pound car. It's crazy. So yeah, this one definitely is the creme de la creme of the collection here. So coming outside, this is the truck section. I like trucks, so I kind of have a couple of projects here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the C60, C70 GMC or Chevy platforms back in the days from like mid-80s. They were medium duty, 2.5 ton heavy duty trucks. I've been grafting a Suburban body onto them. They usually are a single cab. A lot of them are. It's very rare to see a crew cab, but a lot of them are a single cab, and I've been, like this one here, it's gonna be a Suburban, little family hauler. It's basically a truck on steroids. It'll be powered by a big block 454 turbocharged engine that you guys saw earlier. Completely stock interior, outside with, you know, no really modern touches, just all kind of stock looking. It'll basically look like kind of what GM could have built back in the day as a Suburban. So that's the whole idea behind this one here. And this one here, will, you know, is a ramp truck. It'll become a crew cab with a really long ramp bed used to haul the race cars. This one's actually a diesel. So you can kind of see how they get morphed into A crew cab? Yeah, these are the trucks. Well, as far as importance, it's very important. It's my livelihood, it's my passion. If this, if it's not your passion, then it just becomes a regular job, and you're gonna end up with a dull life. Work has to be passion, and if you don't love it, then it's not work. This is my passion. I've always been, in the cars. So that if I can make a livelihood at it and support my family at the same time, it's a win-win. And I love it. I love every moment of it because it's my passion. It's what I do. And I don't think I could change that for anything.